Once you have your project file established, you're then ready to launch Premiere itself and set up the project. Once you've launched Premiere, you may be presented with either this splash screen or the whole workspace. If you're presented with the whole splash screen, you want to go to the File, New Project option and you're presented with this splash screen. With the new project panel up, we're going to go through some standard options and ensure that everything is correctly set up and that we've pointed our project to the correct subfolders within the parent project folder. I'm going to start by giving our project a name. So I'm going to call it Animatic, and crucially I need to set its location. I need its location to be the Premiere project folder within our parent folder. So I'm going to select Browse, and I'm going to navigate to my desktop, go to my project folder, and select my Premiere Files folder, and select Choose. So now my project is saving to here. I can then look at the options relating to my project. The general options are usually not applicable to most situations. We can leave them as is. The scratch disk options, we only need to ensure that they're all set to same as project. There are instances where we would set them to save to a separate location, but more often than not we want them to be same as project. So if they're set to anything else, just open that drop down and select the shortcut of same as project for all of those. The ingest settings are only crucial in certain situations depending on the type of camera and the file format, and the ingest settings change how that stuff is saved within Premiere. So in most instances this isn't applicable either. So with these checked and the location set, we click OK and it'll launch the full Premiere workspace. From here we need to create a sequence to lay our content on, and we need to import our media and we can build our animatic. To do this, I'm going to go to my drop down menu, File, New, Sequence. Now there are plenty of options and presets here. These are all essentially like the international paper sizes for video, such as A4, A3, A5. And out of all these options, the one we want to select is in the digital SLR presets. So we're going to open that up and you'll see we have a few options, and we want to select the 1080p collection and we want to select this option here, DSLR 1080p 25. This will give us a full HD frame at 25 frames per second. We can give our sequence a name, and I'm going to call it Animatic. With this done, I now have my full timeline present. So let's walk through the workspace before bringing some content in. Premiere is made up of panels. Lots of different panels that can be arranged in different orders and arrangements depending on what process we're doing. There are some preset options at the top that change the workspace to fit certain processes or activities within Premiere. We want to ensure we have editing selected, and if something looks awry or a panel is closed or you can't find something, we simply open this up and tell it to reset to saved layout, and it'll take us back to what we would expect or what I'm going to be demonstrating with. So we'll start down here with the project panel. The project panel is basically like a window in your operating system. It's where you find your files and folders, and it's where you select options. Sorry, it's where you select content that you want to edit with. When you select something, it will open up here in the source panel. The source panel allows you to play back and preview content before adding it to your full edit. So you can look at video clips, stills, and listen to audio before making selections within that to choose the portion of that clip to add to your edit. Next to that, we have the program window, which is very similar, but the program displays the edit. The edit is held down here within our timeline. The timeline holds a sequence of clips. It is broken up into 2 parts, and each part has multiple tracks. We have the video tracks and the audio tracks. The video tracks operate like layers in Photoshop. So we can have multiple clips, but the clip that is on the highest layer will obscure clips that are on the lower layers or tracks. Audio works slightly differently in that everything is heard evenly. If we have multiple audio clips playing simultaneously, we hear all of them the same. We have to adjust the level or the volume of each clip individually to create a balanced mix. The timeline has what's called the playhead. It tracks across when we press the play button, and where this blue bar runs through is what is displayed in our program. On the far right bottom corner here, we have the level meter. This is an objective measurement of how loud the audio is. And just to the left here, we have our toolbar. So let's bring in our animatic storyboard stills, bring in some audio, and we'll start to construct our animatic. To import content into your edit, we can go to the File drop-down menu and select Import. I'm going to then navigate to my project folder and my media folder, and because I've created subfolders categorizing everything, I could select individual files to import, but I'm just going to select my parent folder, the media folder that holds everything I need for my edit. With that selected, I will click Import, and the media folder will now be present within my project. And I can expand that out and access all the content within it. I can listen back to audio. And I can start to build my edit. Now my edit is made up of still images. Each image will be treated by Premiere as if it's a video clip, but every frame of the video clip is the same. So I can make my images as long or as short in time as I want. As a standard, they will all be 5 seconds long. I can bring them in one at a time by dragging them across, or I can select multiple images and drag them across as a group. Typically when I'm working with these kind of processes, you will find that your cropped images are not going to be the exact same resolution as your video. There's a quick fix for this when working in this kind of context, which is to select all of your clips, right click by holding down the control key and clicking on one of the clips in your selection, and set scale to frame size. This will just scale up all of the elements so they now fill the full frame. Everything within our timeline is going to appear quite small, so I'm going to zoom into this to make my life easier as I make my edits and adjustments by pressing the plus button next to the numerical keys to zoom in, or the minus button to zoom out. So I will now play through my edit and make assessments of whether things are on screen for too long, are things playing smoothly, am I happy with the pacing and the image order. So straight on the off, your images being 5 seconds long, chances are things will play far too slowly. You're spending too long individual images and things aren't flowing nicely because the pace isn't there. So I'm going to go through this and I'm going to change the image order, and I'm also going to change the pacing. I'm going to start with my image order, however. Now, I have multiple tracks, so if I take a clip, I can drag it to a higher track. What is on the higher track is what is visible. When I'm dragging clips around, if I drag a clip on top of another, it will delete or overwrite what was beneath it. So when moving clips around, we have to be very careful not to do this. You'll also notice that as I move clips around, they stick to the start and end of other clips and to the playhead. This magnetic sticking allows us to move clips around without creating gaps, which will be rendered as black screen, or without accidentally overwriting clips without pushing past that snapping point. However, when we're moving clips around, just give yourself lots of space and move things quite widely to give you the scope to do this without accidentally deleting stuff. If you have a gap, one way of getting rid of it is to highlight the gap itself, press the delete key, and that will delete the negative space. And as you saw, all the subsequent clips moved up. So if I find the next shot I want, which is this one here, I can repeat that process, and if we watch these two clips, they move down as I've deleted that space and truncated my edit. So I'm just going to arrange these in the order that I want. There we go. Now, each of these here is a reference of the original file. So if I delete something by selecting it and pressing the backspace key, it is gone, but the original image remains. I have not deleted that. I can also use the same image multiple times because I'm simply referencing that file in my edit, so I can repeat it over and over and over. Bearing in mind that if I do bring additional content in, I'm going to have to repeat my scale to frame size. So I'm going to take this clip and I'm going to place that at the start again, at the end, so the start foreshadows what is going to happen. So now we introduce the two fish bowl to bowl of cereal, person putting in a wetsuit, because we now have context and location. They're now engaged in the activity. We're changing perspective so we now appreciate that they're underwater. The fish is there with them, introducing the clownfish, and then what was foreshadowed at the start has now come to fruition. However, this is all far too long in its pacing. Each shot is on screen for the same amount of time and for far too long. So we need to shorten up clips, and there are 2 or 3 ways that we can do this. The easiest way is to simply take the selection tool, the one we've been using to move content around, and if I bring it to the start or end of a clip, you'll see it turns to a red I-beam with an arrow. The arrow is pointing towards the clip we're going to affect. So in this instance, we're going to affect clip called Fish1. If I now click and drag, I am now truncating the duration of that clip. Now this is a still image, so the picture won't change, but if this was a video, we would have a preview of what the last frame would now be. As this isn't speeding up or slowing down how the clip will play, we're simply changing how much of that clip we're going to use. When we do this from either end of a clip, it's going to leave us with negative space, empty gaps. So we can select those and press delete again. However, there are more efficient tools for this, and the one we're going to look at today is called the Ripple Edit tool, and it's this one just here. It won't allow us to do anything anywhere apart from where two clips meet, where we get a yellow I-beam. We can then click and drag to change the duration of a clip, but it doesn't create that negative space. So I can play through, have a look at things, adjust the duration of things. I think that should end there. I have this clip here. Maybe a bit longer than this one. It's going to be a bit more dynamic movement in the finished animation. Same here, introduce this fish. Spend longer on it this time, as this is the emotional kind of punctum that we're wanting to hit. So as an animatic, this is now telling me duration, pacing, how long individual shots and clips need to be. I can use this then as a tool to help inform my final animation production. So I can tell how many still images I have to create for this shot. To do this, I'm going to have a look at what's called the time code and see how long that clip lives for. If I take this clip and double click, the source is now displaying this reference. And up here, I can see its duration. Now this is called the timecode clock. It counts in seconds, minutes, hours, and we have frames at the start. Now I know that there are 25 frames in my video. So 2 seconds is 50 frames, plus these 18 other frames gives me 68 frames duration. Our animation is going to be on 2s, so I only need to create half that number of images. So to fill 68 frames, I only need to produce 34 still images. I might add a few at either end of that just to give me a bit of salvage in the edit to make little tweaks. So I might produce a 40 frames of still images to create this portion of the movement. That'll then allow me little tweaks in the edit so I'm not 100% locked in at the animation stage. I would then take a note of that on my original storyboard and then repeat that process for each subsequent shot. Now, excuse me, it is also very common to have audio within a storyboard, or animatic, sorry. To add audio is very similar in process. I have my audio here, and I have the sound of ocean waves. This will help establish the location at the start. So I'm going to find the start here, and in my source I'm going to select a portion of the audio to use. To do this, I will use the in and out keys here. So I'm going to select in. I can either scrub through or play. I'm going to mark out. So I've highlighted this portion of the clip. To add it to my edit, I can come down here and where I have this little waveform icon that looks like the waveform of our audio, I can just click and drag like I did with the still pictures and place it in. And you'll notice that it is far too long, so I'm just going to shrink that down because I'd want it to stop when we go underwater. I have different sounds for when we're under the water, so I will just repeat this process. I have another sound here. Drag that down. Now you'll notice that the sound starts and ends quite abruptly, especially where the louder ocean waves and the background ambience of that cuts to the underwater. So we listen to that again. So what we often do is place little crossfades to just smooth the path of the audio. To do that, we simply select the start or end of that clip in question and we go down from the sequence drop down menu and we select apply audio transition. And that starts the audio very quiet and increases it over time. And we'll just do that for all of the clips. There are shortcut keys as well, and trying to memorize and use these will speed you up dramatically as an editor as well. If you highlight the whole clip and not the start and end when we apply the transition, it goes on both ends of the clip. I'm going to overlap these a little bit just so that things play a little bit more smoothly. I'm going to take this clip again because it plays at this point and repeat that process of adding the audio transition. Let's listen through to that now. So I might take this clip and place it at other points so that these sounds are introduced earlier. I have other ones as well. So I might add that in for the entirety. If you have two audio clips that touch, when we apply that audio transition, it bridges those two clips together. So it will blend from one to the other. And if you bring your cursor over transition, we can make that longer or shorter. So let's listen to that now. So that transition from under the water to over the water is a bit smoother. I'm going to move the point where the two clips end and make that transition a touch shorter. Yeah, a touch shorter still. And I'll just bring this clip back, place a transition on it, so that the sound we hear at the start is also the sound we hear at the end. So that audio brings that animatic to life and helps it feel much more dynamic, and will then again inform the pacing as the whole thing becomes a bit fuller. When we've finished, we simply then have to export our edit. Select within the timeline, go to the File drop-down menu, select Export, Media. From here, we want to ensure the format is set to H.264, and in the preset, we simply want to select Match Source High Bitrate. This will give you a good quality file that will be usable in multiple places. In the output name, click on the blue text, navigate to your project folder, select the Exports folder, give it a name, and hit Save. With all of those settings done, we then hit Export and allow Premiere to then create your consolidated video file. You can then take this, place it on an online video sharing platform, take it to a tutorial or crit, and then come back at any point and then make further amendments and adjustments to it. Nothing in an edit is set in stone other than when you export it out, and you can create multiple exports from the same edit.